Hi, welcome to Cubs and Culture for March 3rd, I think, 2018. I want to talk one last time specifically about the Oscars, about some of the annoying things they do in terms of the voting. So if you don't know, it's 7,000 voters. They've started to clean this up a little bit by requiring people to have a active film credit within the last 10 years or apply for a special extension of their voting rights. So at least that way it's the current filmmaking community as opposed to people who retire and just hanging around forever, especially in the actors branch. But one of the biggest issues when it comes to the Oscars, and this is also true for the BAFTAs and less and slightly true for the Golden Globes as opposed to like the critic circles, etc., is other than the short films and the foreign language films, which you have to attend special screenings for the short films and for the foreign language films, there's no way of verifying that voters have actually watched the various films up for any category. And here's the thing. These people are in the, you have to judge a movie. You have to see it for yourself, right? That seems like a basic idea. Excuse me. So in some ways, Oscar voters are an absolute bastards about this. It happened with, Brokeback Mountain. It happened to some degree with Moonlight because of being gay films. Tony Curtis and Ernest Borgnine. Tony Curtis is weird because he was in Some Like It Hot, which is, a queer film. Point Blank refused to watch Brokeback Mountain because of the gay content. Similarly, a couple of people came out last year for Moonlight, saying they didn't watch it because of the queer content. And so, you shouldn't then be voting for or against it. It is only 9 films, and if you watch the 9 Best Picture nominations, you at least see the vast bulk of the other awards. So, God damn it, you're in the film industry, just watch the fucking films. And now, this isn't always that people don't watch the films and then don't vote for it. When 12 Years a Slave happened, there was at least 2 voters who came out and said they voted for it despite being unable to watch that film. One just had no interest in doing so because of its content. The other one attempted but couldn't get through it because it was such a violent film. Which is not okay, but at least they ended up voting for it, relying on basically sort of the general consensus it was the best film of the year. Now, I'm bringing this up because there's been now 4 reports of 4 different Oscar voters who are okay. So when you vote on the Oscars on the ballot, you actually list the films. If you don't list the film, it doesn't ever receive a vote for you. So if you really don't want a film to win, you just leave it off your ballot, period. Because they do it by consensus. So what happens is they list all the movies by first votes. So let's say there's 100 voters, you need 51 votes, and let's say Shape of Water gets 40 first place votes, and then 3 Billboards gets 30 first place votes. And then the other films each get a smattering of first place votes. Whatever film it comes in last, that film gets eliminated, and those ballots become their second choice that get redistributed to the thing, and you keep doing it like that until one vote passes the 51% 51% marker of the total number of ballots. So in a lot of ways, it's actually your second or third choice which has the most power. So if you really want a film to not win, you simply leave it off your ballot. That way, even if it gets down to the last 2 films, those ballots, because it just keeps the percentages the same and just work. And so, like, this really pisses me off about Get Out because that's such a great movie. The voters aren't looking at it because of it's not an Oscar movie. Despite that, it is such a damn good film. Excuse me. So I really hope it wins screenplay tomorrow. It really, it's unfair to Get Out that people aren't giving it a fair shake. And also kind of proving the film's point that we still don't live in a post-racial society. So good job, Oscars. Somewhat related to this issue is the foreign language category has a huge problem with it. Is of course the Academy doesn't have time to review all films in the world to select those 5 films. Because like in India, there's something like 3,000 movies produced a year in India alone. And there's just not enough time. So what they do is they sort of outsource some of the selection process. So what happens is, not every country, so like Sudan doesn't have standing because it's Sudan in the political situation. But most countries in the world have, national film boards or something like the Academy, so like the Caesars, for example, in France, etc., where they let countries themselves submit only one film a year as the official entry for that film for that country for that year. This is why the best foreign language film, you might have films in multiple films in the same language, but you never have like 2 French films nominated in the same year because it's only one per year. Now there's 2 obvious sort of issues with this. The first one is it's quite possible that 2 French films would be the best non-English films in a year, but only one can be selected. But the other sort of biggest issue is because countries are officially selecting it, and you see this in like Russia and Iran and Iraq or whatever, more regressive countries will not submit progressive or socially subversive works, even if they're really, really good. And so sometimes you can get around it. So like there's this really good feminist film called Water, which is about the Indian treatment, as in India, treatment of widows.